I love my husband, but the truth is, I'm no longer physically attracted to him. It's not because of his appearance, it's something deeper. It's something I can't ignore anymore, and though I know it's horrible to say out loud, I need to be honest about it. This is a throwaway account, and for good reason. My husband and I are both in our mid-40s, having been married for over 2 decades. We share 3 wonderful children, all in their teens. I do love him deeply. But there's a disconnect, something about him that has me questioning everything. It's not that I'm repulsed by him, it's just that I'm no longer drawn to him. He's a good man, truly. He treats me well, and he's an amazing father to our kids. He's tall with broad shoulders, not overly lean, but not overweight either. He's a big guy, solid, with a thick beard and strong arms, big hands that are capable of a lot. He's built like a linebacker, someone you wouldn't want to mess with. And yet, despite all of that, he has this way of moving through the world that feels, well, lacking in something. He doesn't intentionally intimidate people, but his presence commands attention. He has a commanding presence at work, a job that is undeniably masculine, and he excels at it. But beyond that, there's this absence. He's just not manly in the ways that I imagine a man should be. And that's what's left me feeling distant. He's not handy, he can't fix things around the house, and honestly, when he tries, it's almost like the effort is wasted. The things he fixes never quite work right. Often, we have to hire someone else to come in and do it. He doesn't drink, at least not at home. He'll have a beer now and then when we're out, but that's as far as it goes. He's not into any of the things I've always thought a man should be into. He doesn't hunt, fish, or work on cars and sports. They don't catch his attention. Sure, he'll take the kids fishing or shooting, but that's only for them. It's never for him. He doesn't have any hobbies that I can point to, other than a strange one. He started building Lego sets. He's in his 40s, mind you, and that's what he's into now. He loves going to the movies and, honestly, he's a fantastic cook. I never have to worry about dinner when he's home, he takes care of it. And he does a lot of the house cleaning too, which I can appreciate. But, there's this feeling I can't shake. He doesn't play video games or board games unless it's family time. And don't even get me started on intimacy. Sex is fine, but I long for him to take charge, to show some kind of control. I never tell him this. How could I? I don't even know how to start that conversation. I love him, I do. But sometimes, I just wish he would be a man, someone who could take charge, who could fix things, who would show me a side of him that makes me feel like I'm with someone capable of handling life. It's a terrible thing to say, and I feel awful for feeling it. But I had to say it. I couldn't carry it anymore. Update 1. Hello again. I wanted to add a quick update to my original post. I'm not sure how to link this one to the previous one, so you'll have to check my history. I've received a lot of backlash for sharing my thoughts and feelings. I realized, as I read the comments, that what I wrote probably came across as mean and cruel. I'm sure it sounded like I had no right to feel this way. And I know, I shouldn't. But the truth is, I do. And that's the part that's really confusing me. I've thought about it for a few days now, and it's been weighing on me. Some people suggested I talk to my husband about it. I took their advice. I spent a lot of time thinking about how to approach him, what to say, how to say it, what his possible responses might be. Last night, we had a talk. The kids were out, busy with work and friends. We sat outside, enjoying the evening air. I brought it up. I started with telling him I love him, and that he's an incredible father. But there were things I couldn't ignore anymore. I needed changes. I talked about his hobbies, or lack of them. I spoke about how I wanted things to change in our relationship, particularly in the bedroom. I chose my words carefully, trying my best to be gentle. But I was honest. And I told him I wanted honesty in return. I wanted to know what I could do to be a better wife to him. I knew I couldn't ask him to change if I wasn't willing to change too. I had no idea how he'd react. I expected something, anything, anger, sadness, maybe some frustration. But he just sat there, staring at me. No words. No reaction. It was like he wasn't even hearing me. After a long silence, I lost it. I yelled at him to say something. I needed to know what he thought, what I needed to improve. His response? I knew who you were when I married you. I'm not going to ask you to change anything. That was it. The silence stretched on for what felt like an eternity. An hour passed, maybe longer. Then our oldest came home, and my husband went to talk to him, not about what we just discussed, but about work. He didn't come to bed that night. Instead, he slept on the basement couch. I'm at a loss. I don't know how to feel. I'm glad I spoke up, but somehow, it didn't give me the relief I expected. Maybe it's a sign that my marriage is over. I should feel something, anger, relief, sadness, but I just don't. I guess I'll give it some time for both of us to process everything. Update 2. I apologize once again for not knowing how to link my updates properly. Please check my history. In my last update, I explained how things went with my husband. He's been sleeping on the couch ever since, and we haven't discussed our conversation. He talks to me, but it's brief and impersonal. Our kids have been around all weekend, and I haven't had a chance to sit down with him to really talk. He's still downstairs. I've decided to give him space. I don't know what to do next. I've talked to a coworker about this, just to get advice. I needed someone to talk to. He suggested I give my husband some time, wait and see if he'll initiate a conversation. If he doesn't, my coworker thinks it may be time to separate. I don't want that, but it's starting to feel like that's where things are heading. I want him to understand where I'm coming from. I want him to tell me what I can do to change. That's where we stand now. No big updates yet, but I'll give him until the end of the week to make a move. If nothing changes, I'll deal with it. Oh, and I had to clarify something about my coworker. These feelings I have for my husband existed before I talked to him. There's nothing inappropriate going on between us. He's just giving me some guidance because he's a man, and I thought he might understand better than anyone. Nothing more, nothing less. So please, stop with the name-calling. It's already hard enough. I'm trying to navigate this with my husband, and I can't ignore these feelings anymore. You might not understand, but you've had moments like this too, moments where you felt something you didn't want to feel. It's happened to everyone, hasn't it? You can't always control your feelings. Think about that. Think about those emotions that crept up on you, uninvited, and you wished you could push them away. Yet, you couldn't. It's only natural. So, please, don't judge me. I'm not asking for sympathy, just understanding. Update 3. This isn't so much an update, but a repeat of something I've already said. I'm not having an affair with my coworker. I went to him for advice, nothing more. There's no emotional attachment, no physical connection. I simply needed someone to talk to, someone who might understand. I don't have anyone else around here to turn to. If I did, I'd have gone to them. These are my feelings about my husband. I fought these emotions, tried to bury them, but I can't escape them. I don't know how many of you are able to control your feelings so perfectly, but I sure can't. I'm just being honest. If you say you've never had feelings you couldn't shake, well, I'm sorry, but that sounds like a lie. I posted here because I'm confused, scared, and lost. I didn't expect the harsh words. Some of you have been kind and offered helpful advice, and I appreciate that more than you know. But the rest of you? The ones just throwing stones, think before you speak. If you don't want to offer sound advice, just move along. Final update. Okay, I'm done. This isn't so much an update as it is a conclusion. I've been getting so much hate, and for what? For simply asking for advice. My DMs are flooded with insults, and the comments are no better. I've decided that I'm not going to post here anymore. What happens between my husband and me will stay between us. Posting here was the dumbest decision I've made. It's brought me more pain than I ever anticipated. No, I'm not cheating. My coworker and I have had a few talks, yes, and we've exchanged a couple of texts. But it's nothing more than that. He's just been offering advice. He's not pushing me, not pressuring me. He's just been there, providing guidance when I needed it. My husband is a good man. I know that. But no, I'm not a bad person for having these feelings. I'm human. I stand by talking to him about this because that's what people do in a marriage. We communicate. If my marriage ends because he can't accept what I've said, or if he can't make the small changes I'm asking for, then so be it. But I'm done with this post. Thank you to the people who were kind and offered real advice. As for the rest of you, well, you've given me nothing. Story 2. My meth-addicted sister stole my identity and opened 4 credit cards in my name. Now, I'm stuck trying to fix my credit. It all started when I was served a court summons last week. I hadn't noticed anything out of the ordinary at first, but when I checked my credit report, just in case, it was a nightmare. Unfamiliar accounts, collections. The total debt? Over $115,000. All the charges had been made around August and September of last year, mostly at grocery stores, Target, and Walmart. And the worst part? The accounts were all registered at my sister's address. That's an apartment attached to my parents' house. I told my parents immediately. They promised they'd talk to her. A few days later, they said they were thinking about putting her into rehab. Apparently, she had confessed to them that she was using meth. I wasn't sure if that would be enough to fix everything, so I asked a friend from law school for advice. He said the only way to really fix the damage was to involve the police. If I didn't, my credit was going to be ruined for years. When I told my mom, she asked me to wait, suggested a family discussion instead. Yesterday, I went to my parents' house to talk. My sister was there, and she apologized for what she did. She admitted to the addiction and confessed that she'd stolen my social security number from an old tax form. She used the cards to buy gift cards and household items to trade for meth. She told me she was considering rehab, but when I shared what my friend had advised, my mom pushed back. She begged me not to involve the police. She suggested I pay off the debt over time and that my sister could repay me when she was better. But who knows when that would be? Knowing how addictions go, I was skeptical. But I explained how serious this was for me, how my credit score, now stuck in the high 400s, was a massive barrier to buying a house when my lease expires next year. My parents understood, but their solution didn't fix the bigger picture: late payment notices, closed accounts, collections. They were asking me to forgive everything for the sake of my sister's recovery, but it felt like they were asking me to sacrifice my future. This morning, my dad reiterated how much he understood my frustration but pleaded with me to give my sister another chance. They even offered to buy me a house, but the condition was that I wouldn't report my sister's actions. They were offering me a 0% interest loan for the house, but only if I accepted the financial loss on my own. What should I do? My credit score is destroyed, but there's also the human element to consider. How do I balance both? Update! A few days after my original post, I decided to file a police report, but I told my parents beforehand. At first, nothing seemed to happen. But filing the report helped clear my credit report, boosting my score by about 270 points. All the negative marks were wiped away. I had a brief conversation with an investigator, who informed me that no money had been lost, and my credit was restored. He advised me to keep an eye on it moving forward. Then, my mother called, furious. She was upset that my sister would be going to jail, accusing me of being heartless for reporting her while she was trying to get help. But the truth is, my sister never really made any effort to get clean. She confessed to everything during the investigation and was arrested at my parents' house. She only spent one night in jail before being released with a court mandate for supervision, restitution, and mandatory rehab. It's probably the best outcome we could hope for, given the circumstances. My parents are likely going to cover the restitution, but my mom lashed out at me. She even excluded me from our family's July 4th celebration, saying it would be too hard for my sister to see me there. As I plan to buy a house this fall, I'm doing everything I can to make sure no new issues pop up on my credit report. Given everything that's happened, I'm thinking about moving far away from my family.